Good morning and welcome. This is Mission Control Houston. You're getting a live view right now of the equipment lock section of the Quest airlock aboard the International Space Station. You can see the crew here getting ready to support the third spacewalk of the year, conducted by NASA astronaut Chari and European Space Agency astronaut Matthias Maurer. Chari and Maurer are suited up and getting ready to exit the station's Quest airlock for a 6.5-hour spacewalk to replace hoses on the radiator beam valve module and make other upgrades to the station as well. We'll get into more detail about their spacewalking tasks in just a minute. Chari is wearing the spacesuit with the red stripes. You can see him getting outfitted for his safer unit now. Maurer is on the unmarked spacesuit on the left of your screen. Again, we're in the equipment lock section of the Quest airlock aboard the International Space Station now, and soon our spacewalkers will be moved into the crew lock just on the other side of the door behind them. We're going to be talking a lot today about the radiator beam valve module. Essentially, the space station has 6 radiators with 2 radiator beam valve modules each, so 12 total. The radiator beam valve module, or RBVM, as you might have heard it referred to, is a box that allows the ground to control the ammonia flowing through the radiators to cool the space station. They work similar to how your car radiator cools the engine. One of the hoses that connects the radiator to the RBVM was found to be leaking about 4 years ago and was sent back to Earth for repair. It was flown back to the station, and our spacewalkers will install it again today. So Chari and Maurer are in their extravehicular mobility units, or EMUs. When out on the spacewalk, these suits provide life support and communications to the astronauts who wear them. The safer unit is what's being attached to the back of the spacesuit, and that's what Chari and Maurer are getting outfitted with now. SAFER is an acronym that stands for Simplified Aid for EVA Rescue. The SAFER units are a bit like a jetpack. They're worn during spacewalks as a precaution only. They're only used in the unlikely event that the astronauts were to become untethered from the space station. You'll hear all throughout the coverage our ground IV, Stephanie Wilson, today asking the crew to check on their tethers and make sure that all is good there. However, if they were to become untethered, the astronauts would use their SAFER units to propel themselves back to the space station. Today's spacewalk comes just 8 days after the space station's previous spacewalk. On March 15th, NASA astronauts Caleb Barron and Chari donned their spacesuits and went outside to prepare the space station for future installation of rollout solar arrays. It was Chari's first spacewalk, clocking in at 6 hours and 54 minutes. Today, the honor of first spacewalk goes to Matthias Maurer. You may hear Maurer referred to as EV2 and Chari as EV1 by our ground IV Stephanie Wilson today. Chari is with the red striped suit on the right of your screen, getting outfitted with his safer unit. Maurer is to the left. NASA astronauts Tom Marshburn and Caleb Barron are wearing the blue shirts. You can see Caleb Barron helping out Chari get a safer unit on screen now, center of your screen. Tom Marshburn should be seen floating across your screen as well. Tom Marshburn is the suit IV. Caleb Barron is his assist today. That means that they helped Maurer and Chari put their spacesuits on and conduct a leak check, which happened just a few moments ago, and other system checks before helping our spacewalkers through the hatch and into the crew lock. Once our spacewalkers step outside, Marshburn and Barron will continue to support today's operation at the controls of the station's robotic arm. Tom Marshburn is on screen now, assisting Caleb Barron with our spacesuited astronaut Chari. Chari is now moving to the crew lock section of the Quest airlock. The crew began their day just after midnight Central Time today, but the crew has been preparing for today's spacewalk all week long. Chari, Marshburn, Barron, and Maurer had conference with the spacewalk officers on the ground on Friday and Sunday to go over the procedures. On Monday, Chari and Maurer had the opportunity to practice with some of the connectors that they'll be working with today and configure the tools that they'll be needing with them today. Yesterday, Chari and Maurer prepped the equipment lock that Maurer is in now, and all four met with the spacewalk officers via video conference one last time. Earlier today, before our spacewalking astronauts got outfitted into their spacesuits, they wore masks that allow them to breathe pure oxygen to purge nitrogen from their bodies. Earlier today, just before our coverage began, they completed another portion of their pre-breathe exercise known as in-suit light exercise, or ISLE, this time in their spacesuits. This exercise involves moving their arms and legs. As part of the exercise, these movements help increase their metabolic rate and continue to help purge excess nitrogen from their blood. Doing so causes the spacewalking astronauts to avoid getting the bends, also known as decompression sickness. If you've ever gone scuba diving, you may be trained on how to avoid the bends while diving underwater as well, just like our astronauts when they go into the vacuum of space. That device you see on the left of your screen is the safer unit. Looks like European Space Agency astronaut Matthias Maurer is getting outfitted with his now. You're getting a live view now of mission control. You may be familiar with the term Capcom, or capsule communicator. This is the person in mission control who talks to the astronauts in space, but when there's an operation like a spacewalk, this job is actually split into two. In this case, the Capcom is communicating with the astronauts inside of the space station, while Stephanie Wilson, our ground IV, is communicating with our spacewalkers today. You'll likely hear her voice many times during today's coverage. Alex Kanalakos is serving as Capcom for the rest of the crew. Paul Kanya is the flight director overseeing today's spacewalk. We'll be taking your questions during our coverage today, so if you have a question about what you're seeing, please head over to Twitter and submit your question using hashtag AskNASA, and we'll be monitoring throughout today's spacewalk. We're back in the Quest airlock of the International Space Station with NASA astronaut Tom Marshburn on the left in wearing the blue, Kayla Barron in the blue on the right, outfitting European Space Agency astronaut Matthias Maurer into his safer unit, and then moving him into the crew lock so that depressurization can begin. We expect this to happen in about less than 10 minutes. Our flight director, Paul Kanya, just issued a go, no-go poll for depressurization. He'll be pulling the room here in mission control, as well as our spacewalk officers and all supporting today, to make sure that we are go for depressurization. That poll will begin momentarily. Matthias Maurer in this spacesuit, front and center with no stripes on it, unmarked, is making his way into the crew lock section of the Quest airlock. This is the next step until we go for depressurization. The pounds per square inch, or PSI, that we experience here on the ground is about 14.7. At normal operating pressure, the spacesuits are pressurized to about 4.3 PSI. That's about what you'd experience if you were standing at an elevation of 30,000 feet. When astronauts go into the crew lock, we'll be able to give updates as the pressure steadily goes down, and then we expect them to pause for a leak check at about 5 PSI. Dylan? Radiator valve beam module. These hoses route ammonia through the station's heat-rejecting radiators to keep systems at the proper temperature. Back in 2017, NASA found that ammonia was leaking and that the jumpers were the likely culprit. So in March of 2018, almost 4 years ago today, astronauts Drew Feustel and Ricky Arnold conducted a spacewalk to remove them. The hoses have since made their way back to Earth for refurbishment and are ready to be installed once again by Maurer and Chari. The duo will also complete a variety of other tasks, including installing power and data cables to the Bartolomeo science platform, and replace a high-definition camera mounted on the outside of the space station. Sandy Fletcher is our lead spacewalk officer in Mission Control today. In this animation, she'll tell you about today's events in more detail.
Arm operations to install payloads on the platform. EV-2 returns to the crew lock bag on the U.S. laboratory module and continues forward in port to the Japanese Space Agency's Kibo module. A section of the thermal blanket has flipped open, and EV-2 will close the flap and secure it to handrails with a wire tie. EV-2 returns to the bag on the U.S. laboratory module. EV-1 installs 2 ammonia-line jumpers, which were removed on an earlier EVA because of a small leak. The jumpers were refurbished, leak-checked, and reflown. After mating the jumpers' fluid quick disconnects, EV-1 will mate 2 electrical connectors, which will provide heater power. After completing the jumper task, the robotic arm operator flies EV-1 to the camera port 8 worksite. EV-2 meets EV-1 at the camera port worksite after retrieving the new wireless access port capable external high-definition camera from the crew lock. The 2 crew members exchange tool bags, after which EV2 takes EV1's tool bag back to the crew equipment translation aid cart and stows it. EV2 retrieves a different tool bag and translates to the Port 4 Integrated Electronics Assembly worksite. Several bolts on the 4 alpha side will be released and retorqued at a lower setting. This will make any future robotics replacement operations of those equipment boxes easier to perform. Then EV2 rejoins EV1 at camera. To the port cart. While EV1 performs the T-handle tool installation, EV2 translates to a panel on the aft side of the truss. EV2 moves an electrical connector from a non-functional connector to a cable which can provide power. EV2
section of the Quest airlock on the American side of the space station. Who you see on screen is Caleb Barron in the back of the equipment lock and Tom Marshburn. There are suit IVs today. On the other side of the hatch there, astronauts Chari and Matthias Maurer are inside the crew lock. At 6:57, our flight director gave the go for depressurization, and the pressure inside the crew lock is steadily going down. It's hovering at about 9 psi right now and decreasing. At 5 psi, we will expect a momentary hold just to make sure there are no leak checks. Maurer and Chari do have their microphones on, so you may be able to hear the crew in the crew lock on the other side of the wall there communicating with Tom Marshburn and Caleb Barron, who you see on screen now.
Airlock Houston, we copy good MEDOX numbers.
The crew lock is now approaching almost 6.5 psi. If you're just joining us this morning, you're watching the third spacewalk of 2022, where NASA astronaut Chari and European Space Agency astronaut Matthias Maurer have suited up and are getting ready to exit the International Space Station. They're expected to spend about 6.5 hours completing some maintenance tasks on the station's exterior, and their main objective is to replace hoses on one of the station's radiator beam valve modules. The crew lock is now inside 6 psi. Once the crew lock reaches about 5 psi, the ground crew here in Mission Control will verify that there are no leaks in either of the spacesuits, and if all goes well as expected, depressurization can continue to go down to volume. They'll do one more check and receive a go to turn their spacesuits on to internal battery power, which marks the official start time of the spacewalk. But before that can happen, we're depressurizing the crew lock, which is now at about 5.5 psi. Astronauts Caleb Barron and Tom Marshburn are on your screen now. These are not our spacewalking astronauts, but our suit IVs. They're monitoring the depressurization as well.
Matthias, take the depress pump man ISO valve to close.
And the depress pump manual isolation valve is closed.
Roger that. EV1 and EV2, switch your display switch to status until leak check question mark is displayed, and then take display to yes for 2 seconds, so long yes, and then follow displayed instructions for a leak check.
EV2 copies. Leak check.
You just heard the voice of Caleb Barron indicating that we are at 5 psi and are doing a leak check. You heard the callouts for EV1 and EV2. You might hear that referred to a couple of times through our coverage today. EV1 is NASA astronaut Chari.
Trouble hearing you. Wanted to make sure you're configuring for an automated leak check.
Yep, EV1 in the leak check and just watching the countdown.
Do that.
And that was the voice of Chari you just heard, EV1. EV2 is European Space Agency astronaut Matthias Maurer.
And EV1 leak check complete.
See, leak check complete, EV1.
EV2 leak check complete.
See, leak check complete, EV2. For both of you, check your O2 actuator is in EVA.
And EV1 in work. Same for EV2. EV1, O2 actuator is in EVA. And the
EV1, O2 actuator is in EVA.
EV2, O2 actuator is in EVA.
EV2, your O2 actuator is in EVA. Copy that. Matthias, take the depress pump man ISO valve to open.
And the depress pump manual isolation valve is in open.
See, depress pump man ISO valve is open. EV1 and 2, monitor your suit pressure gauge is less than 5.5. If it ever is greater than 5.5, we will stop the depress.
Copy on, EV1 copy.
And the checks were good, and we are proceeding to get the PSI down to vacuum. We're now inside 4 PSI inside the crew lock.
Matthias, wait for my go, but on my go, when we get to 2.0 pounds, we'll be taking the depress pump man ISO valve to close.
Copy.
The PSI of the airlock is now within 3 PSI. The PSI is approaching 2 PSI in the crew lock. Caleb Barron had communicated with our EV2, Matthias Maurer, just a moment ago that there are some steps that he needs to complete when the crew lock reaches 2 PSI.
Matthias, take the depress pump and ISO valves closed.
The depress pump manual isolation valve is enclosed.
Copy, depress pump man ISO valve is closed. Switch the depress pump power switch to off.
Depress pump power switch is in off.
The depress pump power switch is off. Houston wanted to confirm you're ready to copy tether config.
Yes, EV2 is ready. Yep, we're ready.
Houston is ready.
Shall I start, Roger?
Copy, report initial tether configuration for egress.
Okay, so EV2 starts, and I start with my right weight tether. The latch hook is on my 3D workstation, and small hook is on my right bearing extender. Gate closed, and the hook is locked like on black. My left weight tether. Pushing for it. I got a pretty good view. If you want me to pick up at some point, let me know. My right weight tether is my left weight tether, sorry, is like on the chute, the small hook, gates closed, black on black, and the large hook is on the D-ring extender, so that's our load path of the airlock, and the gate is closed, black on black. I continue with my safety tether. My safety tether tag is on my left D-ring extender. I have my red hook on my D-ring extender, the gate is closed, black on black. I have the red reel, which is unlocked. On the red reel I also have an AET, which I need later on Columbus, to fair lead. Red reel anchor hook, the yellow hook, is connected to the green reel. The gate is closed, black on black. And the green hook from the green reel is on the red reel. My green reel anchor hook, which is labeled with a white tape and a 2 on it, is the gate is closed, black on black, connected to Raja's waist tether, and I have both in my hand, also Raja's waist tether, gate closed, black on black, and I hand over to Raja to continue. The other end of that left waist tether that you have, I can see it on my left D-ring extender, and then it's gate closed, black on black. Also on my left D-ring extender, is a red and white crew hook, locked, closed, locked, black on black, that runs to a single safety tether reel with the large hook on my mini workstation with a white tape labeled EV1 single. On my right side, on my mini workstation, I have a white hook, bigger hook labeled EV1 pack, that runs the green reel. The green reel has the green hook going to the red reel, and the yellow hook on the green reel. Both are unlocked. The yellow hook, anchor hook, is locked black on black. The green hook is unlocked. Coming out of the red reel, crew hook is labeled red 1, and that's on my right. D-ring extender locked, gate closed, black on black. Also coming from my right D-ring extender, I have a crew hook attached to a waist tether that's on my right mini workstation. And that is also gate closed, lock, black on black on that right D-ring extender.
Hi, Roger. We may have missed it, but did you report your left waist tether small hook is on your D-ring extender and locked?
I did, yep. The left waist tether small hook is on the left D-ring extender, gate closed, lock, black on black. And the other end of that, the crew hook, is what's attached to ED2's.
Okay, copy that. And could you both just confirm that your reels are unlocked?
Yeah, for EV2, both reels unlocked. And EV1, correct. I have 3 reels, all unlocked.
Okay, roger that. I think from our perspective, that's a good tether config, but we'd like to confirm with ground ID.
And Houston concurs. That's a good tether config. Good morning.
Good morning, Stephanie. Good morning, Stephanie.
All right, gentlemen, we are now waiting for the crew lock to continue depress. When it is about 0, you'll expect another alert tone. And when we get less than 0.5 psi, either per our telemetry in here on the PCS, on your DCM, or the EV hatch gauge, you can take the EV hatch to open. And remember, we need to pause after unlatching it before actually opening the hatch.
Happy? Matthias, I'm going to slide this way now that we're moving towards that step, just so I can get my hands onto the hatch handle. That position work for you? Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely.
You just heard a number of voices there, the first being EV2, Matthias Maurer, and then similar words from EV1, Chari. They were just confirming their tether configuration, essentially making sure that they have that everything that they need is in position where they need them to be, and nothing is tangled. They'll be tethered to the space station the whole time. Suit IVs Kayla Barron and Tom Marshburn are keeping a checklist of the configuration. Stephanie Wilson, our ground IV, confirmed a good configuration.
Telemetry, we're at 50 millimeters of mercury, looking for 26. We'll keep you updated.
The crew lock is now within 1 psi, getting down to 0.
I think my right leg is hitting that bag, so just keep an eye on it when I go out, make sure I don't pull anything out there. Okay. All right. Later. I may need your help to pull my leg down away from that bag if you're able to. Just put it down, or towards the UIA, so I can get my head away from the hatch here.
Just a moment ago, Ground IV Stephanie Wilson just issued her hellos to the crew this morning. If you're just joining us for the first time this morning, we have two NASA astronauts on screen, Tom Marshburn and Kayla Barron. They're actually assisting our spacewalkers. They are not the spacewalkers themselves. Our spacewalkers are through the door that you see on the far side of the screen there. There's a little window. You may see our spacewalkers, NASA astronaut Chari and European Space Agency astronaut Matthias Maurer. Having their spacesuits sort of pop in through the window, you won't get a good look at them now. Depressurization is underway, basically going from space station pressure to the vacuum of space, what they might experience out there. The pressure in there is at about 0.75 psi, getting down to zero. Once this step is complete, known as depressurization, they'll be able to exit the International Space Station and begin their spacewalk. Their objectives for today are replacing hoses on the radiator beam valve module, basically a system that assists the radiator, one of 6 radiators on the International Space Station, helps cooling.
We're seeing 36, looking for 26, 10 millimeters of mercury to go.
Looks like about 0.6 on the airlock gauge.
The next step in our procedures today is to receive the go from Mission Control here in Houston to open the outer thermal hatch cover. Followed by that, they'll be opening the inner hatch of the crew lock where the astronauts will emerge from.
31 for 26.
The pressure in the crew lock is now approaching 0.5 psi, getting down to about zero. While our coverage today began about an hour ago, the official start time of the of the spacewalk will not officially be clocked until the suits are turned on to internal battery power.
We have 0.5 on the hatch gauge.
Okay, we're looking for less than 0.5. We have about a half a millimeter to go on our telemetry. And we are below 26 by PCS. You are go to open the EV hatch per the decal, remembering to pause after unlatching.
Okay. Unlocked. It's in unlatch, waiting a second. The hatch is open and hatch key is engaged.
Roger that. The emergency MPEV is closed, and I will turn you over to Killer, your ground OV.
Copy. Thanks, Killer.
Good luck out there, guys.
Thank you, Kayla. Thank you, Tom.
Kayla, Tom, thank you. Nice work. Raja and Matthias, on your DCMs, take your power switches to bat, stagger your switch throws, and expect a warning tone.
Ready. EV1. EV2 in bat.
Copy. Take your display switches to Pro to verify functional display.
Yep, functional display. EV1 has a functional display.
On the UIA, power EV1, EV2, two switches, take them to off, OFF.
Copy. Power EV1 and power EV2 to off, OFF.
Matthias, also check power EV1, EV2 LEDs. 4 of them are off, OFF.
And I confirm 4 LEDs, OFF.
On your DCMs, disconnect your SCUs from your DCM, install the DCM cover, and stow the SCU in the pouch.
Good work. Good work.
At 7:32 a.m. Central Time, 8:32 a.m. Eastern Time is the official start time of this spacewalk, marking the beginning of the 248th spacewalk in support of station assembly and maintenance. Chari and Maurer are expected to spend about 6.5 hours replacing 2 hoses on the radiator beam valve module and a number of other maintenance tasks. At the beginning of the spacewalk just moments ago, when those spacesuits got turned on to internal battery power, the space station was flying over the South Pacific Ocean.
Copy EV2.
EV1, that's you disconnected still.
Copy EV1. On the crew deck, check deep press pump man ISO is closed.
And I confirm the deep press pump man ISO is in closed position.
Thank you. On your DCMs, take your temperature control valve to max hot.
EV1 is in max hot. EV2 in max hot.
Take your water switches to on.
EV2 water switch is on. EV1 water switch is on.
We're in a brief but expected handover period. You're getting a live view of Mission Control in Houston.
Check it blank and bites is off, and also on EV2, check DCM cover closed.
Our ground IV, Stephanie Wilson, is getting our spacewalkers through their final checks. Pretty soon we'll get a live view of them coming out the Quest airlock.
No bite lights and the DCM cover is closed. Matthias, your FCU pouch came floating down by here by the hatch. You don't have to get it now. You can wait till I get out, but just so you know, it's over here. Grab it once you'll have more room once I'm out of the hatch. Okay. Yeah. No, it's out of the pouch. Correct. It's a pouch too. I've got it in my hand. I'll just hold until I get out so you don't tangle yourself.
Next is the temperature control valve. You can take that as you like.
Thing EV226. And EV1 set. Let's try it. Both work right now.
You're getting a live look now at one of the many external cameras aboard the International Space Station, looking at the outside of the Quest airlock.
EV1 is at 4.2. EV2 is at 12.2.
Copy all EV1, EV2. You can take your visors as required. It's currently dark, but there'll be 5 minutes to the daylight transition. We have the suit parameters. And so we are ready for you to start to work egress for opening the hatch thermal cover.
Ready? Copy, George. Let's start. That's where I've got to go. If we go ahead and disconnect the strap and stow it. On the thermal cover. The thermal cap strap is disconnected from the D-ring attached to the stowage ring and pulled taut.
Copy, and you have 6 Sharpie lines visible on the tail.
Sharpie lines.
And Roger, I think you said you see 6 Sharpie lines.
Confirm, 6 Sharpie lines.
Copy that. We're ready for you to egress the airlock when you're ready.
That's good. Thermal cover swimming open.
And just like that, you're seeing a live view of the hatch thermal cover swinging open. Ground IV Stephanie Wilson gave our spacewalkers today the go to egress. Once the spacewalkers are fully egressed or outside of the crew lock,
the SCU pouch is trapped somewhere. Mine or yours? Yes, I have it.
Once they've egressed, their next steps are to grab their tool bags, close the hatch thermal cover, and turn their HECAs on and perform a series of buddy checks.
Hey, I'm out. I'm just getting my tethers sorted out here. I'll start laying down anchor hooks.
Copy.
Radiator is the first one out the door today. You'll see that it's Radiator as EV1, as he has the spacesuit with the red stripes.
Roger, we have a camera on you, and we can see that you may have the camera bag egressing out with you. Just wanted to check that's what you'd like, and at 30 seconds to a 20-second handover.
Copy. Definitely not my plan to have the camera bag with me. I can get it off. May need to wait for Matthias to come out to get it out from underneath it. I'll see if I can just strangle it. Let me knock out the anchor hooks first, so we got load pass, and then I'll come back to that bag.
We're in an expected handover period between our TDRS, or tracking and data relay satellites, that provide our video and audio communication, one of many communications methods from the ground, with the ground to the space station. Right now, astronaut Radiator is fully egressed from the Quest airlock. Now we're waiting for EV2, Matthias Maurer, to do the same.
Roger, copy your plan to work the anchor hooks. Your anchor hook goes aft, and Matthias's anchor hook goes forward.
That could work. Okay, and the white hook, anchor hook, labeled 2, which is Matthias's anchor hook, is lock on lock, on the forward airlock view, right? With that, Matthias has a good low pass. First, you have to disconnect your release tether, Matthias, from the airlock viewing center. I'll just start working on this bag here. Good night, I'll twist it. I'm taking off my left brake tether from the viewing extender of the airlock.
And Roger, can you report the config of EV1 safety tether?
So EV1, my EV1 white anchor hook, marked EV1 single, is on the aft D-ring. That's airlock D-ring.
Copy that, and we had a short handover. We may have missed that. Thank you.
Got it, yep. So I can see the camera bag. I think the red is wrapped around something on my right side, so I'm trying to find what it's wrapped on. And Matthias, my safer controller definitely deployed, so that's what was caught on. Oh, yes, oh. I see. That's what that was wrapped around. Okay. Can we fix it outside? Why don't we try to get the bag? Can you get the bag inside? And then we can definitely work the safer handle outside. Yeah. But I'll just obviously be careful. I can't see what it's attached to back there. Can you go on left? Oh, it's caught exactly below the safer handle. grab that with your hand and push it like towards your body, forward, left. Put your body forward, left. That might clear some safer handle. Otherwise, I need to come out. I'm close to you. Have you yawned for me so that I can reach your safer handle? This bit. Towards the feet. I think I come outside. Okay, let me move on the obstacle handrail here so you got room. You're clear to come out. I think I'm trying the same trick like you. What's something caught on me? Okay, coming out.
The space station has moved into an orbital daytime approaching the southern tip of South America, and we see European Space Agency astronaut Matthias Maurer's feet poking out of the Quest airlock there. The spacewalker in our suit with the red stripes, Roger Chari, egressed moments ago.
But that FPU pouch is wedged between your BRTs. If you can push that up in front of you, that should make. There you go. The twist is hitting the back of the hatch, so if you straighten your legs out. Okay. All right. Okay. All right, let's look at each other first. Check our tethers are clear. Not to cause this to get worse. Yeah. And then we can sort out the bag and then the safer handle.
And Roger, Matthias, we concur with that. We like having you egress, get untangled. We'll actually work with the safer handle first, and then we'll do the bag outs.
Okay. I don't know if we can get the handle back in with that bag wrapped around it, though. Because right now I can feel tension. Yeah. I'm clear. That's on at the moment, sir. Yes.
And Matthias Maurer, our EV2 for the day, is fully egressed from the Quest airlock.
For me to say that the untangling includes the current bag that you're working on now.
Okay, copy. Okay, so that dog goes back in. Nicely done, Matthias. All right. Bags out of the way? No. You're safe there. If you need to pause to get your visor down, you can. Go get blinded, or you're good? I'm good at the moment. All right. So now, do you need to come close to me? Yep. Well, what I'm trying to do is rotate all this stuff out of the way so I don't interfere with you. And I think I can stabilize my body. That would be my feet facing this way, and then turn my safer handle toward you. Alright. We're getting the heck of a translation adaptation time here. So do I need to go around? Into the color. Yeah, if you remember that, it's got the two positions on the pin when you put it back in, so you get it part of the way in, and then you have to seat it the rest of the way. Yeah.
And Roger, Matthias, we have steps for this safer deploy with the hand controller module. Since you have your hands on it, is it a good time for us to give you that?
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah, well, go ahead. Yes, put camera on me?
Yes.
I think I need to switch to my head.
We have a big picture external view of both of you. There's a...
Echo on or off now? It's on. Good, so I'm ready for the steps.
Copy. There's a caution. Be careful not to accidentally bump the power switch. And I believe this one is already taken care of for Roger. He has a local tether down. Manual ISO valve on the handle. Take it port to the left to the closed or up position.
On the left, that's arrival. Checking, hold on.
Our spacewalker is now working through a number of post-egress tasks.
Roger, we need it to be up.
Oh, sorry, okay. Okay, it's up now.
And then on the hand controller module, we'd like you to check this configuration, that the power switch is off, OFF.
Power switch is in OFF, and the other switches are in trans and in neutral.
And the mode switch needs to be in rotational and the display blank.
Copy. And I adjusted both. Rotation and displays in blank.
Copy. Now you can insert the hand control module onto the tray, routing the umbilical. As you remember from training, that routing goes counterclockwise under the hand controller module grip.
Just tell me where you need me to move. What's your... Oh, stay exact. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I tried to close it, and I remember there was a trick that you try to close it part way, and then you have to get the rest of it down. Once that pin, once the clevis is halfway engaged with the pin.
And we concur.
Closed. Nicely done. All that translation adaptation complete. Yeah, I need to always myself where I am now.
Nice work, gentlemen.
All right. I assume I need to take that left safer handle back to down to rearm the system, correct?
That's affirmed.
That should work. And then we can get, we'll get your bag and buddy checks here in a second to get all this squared away. So do you want me to climb back in to retrieve the bag? Oh, the RBBM bag? Oh, sorry, I forgot. Yeah, we just do that. To make sure we're not tangled in here all behind up here. We're hanging around each other. Okay, I start moving up. This bag should be up to your right. Yeah, yeah. Need to rotate and bring my body out. Take your time. We're not in any rush.
Roger, one follow-up from your work with the hand controller module. We would just like to confirm that the manual isolation valve, that handle on the port left side, is down.
It is down, yep.
Copy, thank you.
Put it back down.
Our spacewalker is now doing some closeout tasks at the airlock before they head on their way.
Get a little closer to it.
They're making sure that nothing is tangled and that they have the equipment that they need, that their HECAs are on. You may have heard some chatter about them turning on their HECAs. This stands for High Definition Extravehicular Activity Mobility Unit Camera Assembly. In other words, they're high definition cameras that allow us to see from the astronaut's point of view. Speaking of cameras, one of the tasks that they have today is exchanging a camera on the external side of the International Space Station. Looks like Roger Chari inadvertently had taken out that bag, but it will not be used right in the beginning of our spacewalk, but will be retrieved later in the spacewalk for use.
Okay, next is my bag. The password P4 bundle, which is now attached for my CRT latch hook. And I retrieve the small hook on the D-ring extender.
Copy the bag configuration. Roger, you can turn your HECA on. And Matthias, you can also stow the airlock waist tether large hook to the airlock D-ring extender, or as you desire.
Yes, it is. And for EV1, my HECA is on.
Copy, Roger.
Green light.
We're in a brief handover period, and we hope to get our live views of the outside of the International Space Station back soon, where our spacewalkers are getting ready to go on their way.
Between the two safety tether reels. I'll watch it as you come down here.
Our spacewalkers will actually be working pretty independently from one another for the majority of the spacewalk. NASA astronaut Roger Chari will be on the robotic arm for almost the entire spacewalk, while EV2, Matthias Maurer, completes different tasks throughout the station's exterior, basically taking a tour of the outside of the space station, going all around the different modules.
And I think my helmet light came off. It did. It was attached by the left velcro. Jesus, what's that? Okay. Let's see here. Come towards me. Hang on. Let me rotate in a position. Yeah, so that puts my bag on my DIT. Yeah, stop moving. You have it on the right? I have it.
And Houston copies EV2's HECA.
Okay, right now I've got it tapped on with Velcro. I'm going to have to get that force secured in a second. If you want to get your bag so that's not going to drift off. And then I think, well, let's get your bag sorted out, and I'll have you probably lay with your head towards the airlock and towards me, and I can see if I can reattach it. Just actually, I'm going to hold your bag. I got it very slowly towards me because it's held on my Velcro right now. I'm just trying to get the better body position here while I'm working on that. Okay. Thank you, Steve. Yeah, I need to rehook that one. As long as it's not tangled or is it stuck to something, It is with my safety tether, like there's a wraparound. I think it's your waist tether, actually. Yeah. So for now, if it's secure, let's not worry, but let's get the helmet on. Wait, just a second. Let me clear the hard in hand. Okay. Alright, let's get the whole slow down, very slowly. Or slowly towards me, so you're looking up into the hatch. Alright.
And we're back with a live look of one of the many external cameras on the exterior of the International Space Station, looking at the outside of the Quest airlock.
Okay, so what I'm going to have you do is find a body position that you can hold. I'm going to see if first I can try to re-engage them. Alright? Holding. I'm going to have to move around a bit here.
And Roger, Matthias, there is also a crib sheet for this operation.
Okay. Yep, happy to listen.
Yep, and you guys are doing the right thing, minimizing motion and making Matthias as stable and rigid as he can be. For, I believe, one Velcro strap has come loose.
Yep.
So you're going to try to...
The right is loose.
The right is loose. You're going to try to reroute that strap between the HUT plus interface, attaching the Velcro strap to the HUT TMG side first.
Okay. Are you stable enough, Matthias, that I can actually crawl on your back? Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I'm holding on to you. Yeah, go for it. Okay, the right Velcro is re-engaged. So both Velcro straps are on. Now I need to see if we can try to engage, or actually, stuff over to you for the next step, but I see I'm going to try to re-engage the actual locks on the helmet. Or come up with a wire tie solution.
Checking.
Okay, left and right Velcro's engaged. I'm going to translate on you again, Matthias, and see if I can find the box. I don't mess with this anymore. I'm also thinking maybe I should find something to ret to on those helmets, so if it does come off, while I'm trying to reattach it, I don't lose it.
And Roger, Matthias, we're continuing to talk about it also. We like how you've routed the strap. What we propose is that you close the thermal cover, continue with buddy checks while we discuss any further work on the helmet camera.
Looks like the magnet's holding it closed. Yep, closed.
Our astronauts are now working to close the hatch thermal cover.
All right, buddy. All right, I'll start on you. I can see.
Coming up soon, they'll perform a series of buddy checks, checking out each other's spacesuits and making sure all is well.
1, 2. If you yaw body left, I can see your other tab. 1, 2, 3 tabs up, and both your safer handles are down. Copy. At least that is good news. And your crew lock bag is behind you, down by your left side, so it looks like it's a good config. I see your tether pack running up to the forward black V-ring. Your tether pack is here. Okay, don't close, flag on flag. But right now your waist tether runs up through your tether back, but as soon as you disconnect that, you should be good. Once you get that down, I can work on your other waist tether. Okay. Now, your other waist tether, like you mentioned before, is wrapped around the knuckle of your BRT. So if you take your left waist tether anchor hook off your main workstation.
You're getting a view now of the tethers that our spacewalkers Chari and Matthias Maurer are discussing.
Yep, that one. And then run it under your BRT and back to you. There you go. Now you're good. All right. All right. You're looking ready for a spacewalk other than helmet light. Okay. Are you ready for tickle? Tell me where you need me to move. I see the green helmet light.
Great view of NASA astronaut Chari now, who you see in the red stripes with the Earth below. Chari is assisting Matthias Maurer to make sure that his tethers are configured correctly.
Two from here a little bit. The 3 MIDI workstation tabs are up. Breaker handles are both down now. And the true lock back bundle is nicely on your left, and I think you can easily manage it. In your safety tether, I see that your EB1 crew hook is safely attached to the aft E-ring on the airlock. It's wheel 23 is unlocked, and I see that. Can you show me your small hook? It's locked. Yeah, it's locked, and it's in your steering extender. And your other safety tethers are routed on the right and clear. Copy, thank you. There is one small red, which is on your PGT, which is locked out. You might unlock it so that you don't snag it. Thank you. All right. Take that body check complete. I have for a baseline half jacket is dry. My gloves do not have any new smudges on them from when we started. And the same for ED2, my hat is dry and my gloves look pristine like from when we started. Alright, and stand by for the helmet. I would minimize your movement for now, Matthias, because those are just held on by Velcro.
Roger, Matthias, copy all. And we are ready. Good buddy checks and copy your HAP and baseline gloves. We're still discussing the HECA.
Copy. Trying to see what might be a good position for me to work on this. I'm thinking stay on the handrail here. I get behind you in between the wagon wheel. Back here I might be able to get some wedge myself in there enough to work on it. Catch on your part that they came off. Toasted. This way a little bit more and see if I can see the latch mechanism back there. And Kill, I'll defer to you. Obviously, you guys have the grip sheet. One idea is I can rent to this cable that I'm pointing at with my left hand, and then try to work it back on the latches. And that way, if I miss, at least I get a rent to it. But we'll stand by for your words.
And Roger, Matthias, we're still talking about it, but what we're thinking is using a wire tie to keep Matthias's, to better secure Matthias's helmet camera. But we're still discussing. Stand by, please.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
You just heard Ground IV Stephanie Wilson relay to the crew that they're working on a fix for Matthias's helmet camera.
Your assessment, do you think using a wire tie is something that you can perform?
I can't, but what am I wire tying it to? Like the visor knob or something like that? So I have to look for something I would attach it to.
And we have some initial thoughts, but let me get the final plan.
Okay. All right, just dust my BRT here while we have some time. You want me? Oh, no, I thought it's wrong. I was just putting it higher up on my body so I can get to it later. Ah.
Roger, Matthias, we're still discussing. We do have some steps that we're pulling together. We appreciate your patience. You can hang out for a bit and perhaps get some good photography.
Good. Yeah.
What the crew is working through now is a camera and helmet light assembly that just doesn't want to stay secured into place. The ground right now is working a solution, possibly using some wire ties, but still talking amongst themselves on a solution. Basically, they just don't want to interfere with the spacesuits or the ability for the spacewalkers' life support units to get in the way or anything to be compromised there. But as soon as we have a fix, our spacewalkers will be on their way to the work site. You're getting a live view of the Quest airlock with two spacewalkers, Chari in the spacesuit with red stripes. You can see his legs poking out there, and European Space Agency astronaut Matthias Maurer. They began their spacewalk and are getting ready to go out to their work site, but first the crew here on the ground is working on a solution to Matthias Maurer's camera and helmet light assembly, kind of keeping it in place before they head off.
This is Brazil, below. Yes, I think so. Could be.
Roger, Matthias, just checking in. We're still working it. The plan is coming together. I should be back with you shortly.
Copy on.
a solution to the loose camera and helmet light assembly. Part of the helmet section of the spacesuit for Matthias Maurer is in work with the ground crew here. Our next step is to hear from our ground IV, basically the Capcom of a spacewalk. NASA astronaut Stephanie Wilson is expected to give some words to the crew once they're ready.
Roger, Matthias, the plan has come together. Thank you for your patience. So what I'd like to do is kind of read the steps as a big picture, get your comments and assessment, and then we can step through it. And the plan includes using 2 long wire ties, Roger, from your BRT. So you're going to use those wire ties to secure to the safer towers. You'd wrap one end of the wire tie around the right E-hip gimbal while Matthias attempts to hold the EMU-TV E-hip assembly onto his helmet. The tie down should minimize impingement into the thruster areas, and the preference is to route around the vertical safer tower to minimize the possibility of the wire tie sliding toward the thrusters. Then you'll wrap the open end of the wire tie around the safer tower.
So read that back to Earth. I think you said I'm going basically taking a long wire tie and going around the gimbal and then down to the safer tower. And I didn't explain the thing you're talking about, the vertical part of the tower.
Right. And the safer tower, it's kind of it's an upside down L. So you'll be wrapping the other end of the wire tie around the horizontal portion and keeping it clear of any thrusters.
Okay, I think if that's almost following the same routing as the Velcro, essentially.
Yeah, that's correct.
I would just compare it, yeah. Okay. All right, I will start putting that in work. I'll work on his right side first, and why don't you find whatever a stable position is for you that I can kind of push you around and you won't move. Yeah, I have a stable position. Okay. And I'll try to make it myself. So I'm going to kind of use you to translate on them, or to brace myself as I'm doing this. Yep.
Ground IV Stephanie Wilson just communicated the plan that our EVA team here on the ground came up with. Essentially, astronaut Chari is going to use one of the wire ties on his body restraint tether, one of the tethers keeping him to the International Space Station. It was decided that these wire ties will not be used throughout the space station, so they're available to use on Matthias Maurer's camera and helmet light assembly. He'll be attaching it to part of the safer unit, making sure to be careful of not interfering with the safer unit's ability to safely get Matthias Maurer back to the space station in the event of an emergency. You're getting a live view of Mission Control in Houston, now the International Space Station's flight control room, where flight controllers are talking amongst themselves on a solution to the camera and helmet light assembly. They've gotten instructions for NASA astronaut Chari on how to secure that into place, and are just making sure that the path is correct and agreed upon by everyone in the room. once this solution has been worked.
I think where you're talking about, I've got retwisted. What I'm going to try to do is use the ret hook, put more twist into it to essentially tighten this down more.
When a solution has been worked, NASA astronaut Roger Chari will work to configure the robotic arm and ride it out to the radiator beam valve module while Matthias Maurer routes an Ethernet cable.
Well, I guess one caution with this, Matthias, is you probably won't be able to, like, manipulate the aiming of your lights. You'll just have to be careful when you're up there. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. If you could aim it, I think, if you could aim it already now. Yeah, hold on. Sorry, I'm pulling you around here. And we're all done with this. Let's check our safety tethers again, because I'm hanging all over your back here trying to bond you. Let me get a camera view on that so they can see it. Yeah. Do you have KU back, Stephanie?
Roger, we do not, and we're also about 2 minutes from a teacher's S-band handover.
Right. I would kind of like you to see this before I do the other side, and just so I'm not wasting time if not what you're imagining. I'll hold here then until you get a view.
Copy that. We'll let you know.
Your helmet lights, Matthias, on that right side look like they're in line and like properly positioned. But the left side will have to change a little bit, but I think the right side looks good. Yeah. What you could do is like you could flatten these the wire tie so that it's like less of an obstacle when I move around. Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, let me try to tuck it in on top of the stages.
And Roger, Matthias, also for your essay, we're about 11 minutes tonight.
Copy, copy, y'all. I think that body position worked pretty well, so what I'm thinking is maybe I could just go to the aft side and I go to the forward side for the next one. Does that make sense? Yeah. I could also just yaw around. Oh, okay, yeah, that might work, yep. Trying to think. But you want me to say? I don't have the handrail on this side, doesn't go all the way around, but we'll try it. Let's like get the camera view and have you yaw, see if that works. That'd be the easiest thing. But hold on so they get to see this view. Perfect. Hey. Well, if we had gray tape out here, I could really fix it. Yeah, I guess covering your helmet, gray tape.
We're waiting for our live views of the International Space Station to come back as we hand off between satellites. Once we get our live view back, the folks here in Mission Control will evaluate Roger Chari's work, securing the lights and camera assembly. And it looks like we're getting our live views back now.
Roger, Matthias, we're back with you on KU.
Okay, let me get position 2. exactly sure what you see in the echo, then hopefully you can see that.
Assessing.
You need to aim.
Roger, nice work. We like what we see on that side. So if you can repeat it on the other side, that'd be great.
Good try. If you're able, before you swing all the way around, yep, you're actually fine. I'm going to work on getting the rat while you swing, so take your time. No rush. Just be aware you're
With their visuals back, it looks like the ground here just confirmed with NASA astronaut Roger Chari that the camera and helmet light assembly on Matthias Maurer's spacesuit looks good to them. We're now 1 hour into the spacewalk. Since the crew has spent considerable time working on Matthias Maurer's camera and helmet light attached to his helmet there, the crew here on the ground is now discussing what procedures we'll be able to get to today. Of course, the priority of today's tasks is the radiator beam valve module. It was not expected to take the whole spacewalk, so now they're discussing what other maintenance tasks that were planned we'll still have time for.
All right, once more, I'm going to use you as a translation aid here. Be a little closer this time. Hey, lap strap practice. Yes. All right. Did you log you to your mini workstation? No, you're fine. Okay. Okay. On you again.